Hey, Tui, are you familiar with the thought experiment of the Ship of Theseus in the field of identity metaphysics? Okay, well, how about the Wizard of Oz? Are you familiar with the Wizard of Oz? Perfect. Welcome to Teacup for One. My name is Matt, and I have 2 degrees, and I have no idea what to do with myself now that the Great Movie Ride Marathon is over. For 3 months, my life had structure, and now you don't even know who I am anymore. Which brings us to the topic of today's video, why Vision is actually the Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz. Okay, maybe that's too clickbaity. Like, I'm not here to argue that they are literally the same character in the same universe, although I would watch that crossover in a second. No. Today, I'm just here to talk about the fact that the 2 characters have something very unique in common. You could almost say that they share the same heart. Pun intended. This is actually a video that I've wanted to do since the WandaVision finale, because it made me appreciate the Tin Man a whole lot more. And I know I've spoken on the channel at length about how and why The Wizard of Oz is my favorite movie ever, blah, blah, blah. But the Tin Man? I've never been a Tin fan. Now, I've always thought the Tin Man was kind of basic. But now, I'm starting to think he might actually be the most interesting and most tragic character in all of The Wizard of Oz. But I am getting ahead of myself. It's always best to start at the beginning. If you watched WandaVision, you no doubt remember the epic and meme-worthy moment in the finale where the 2 visions went head-to-head and then made peace over discussing philosophy, specifically the Ship of Theseus.
I request elaboration.
Okay, as a quick review, let's say, for the sake of argument, that the Ship of Theseus is a literal thing, a historic relic that has been preserved for generations as a tribute to Theseus and his legacy and his accomplishments. Now, over time, the individual planks of wood that make up the ship are going to start to rot, and as they do, those pieces are removed and replaced with new planks of wood. Over the course of 1,000 years, all of the original planks of wood that made up Theseus's original ship have been replaced, and yet, the ship still stands. But is it still the Ship of Theseus? And now, let's take that one step further. Imagine that all of those rotted planks of wood that were removed were cleaned up and collected, and over time, used to rebuild a second ship. Is that the Ship of Theseus? In the words of Visions, neither are the Ship of Theseus. Both are the Ship of Theseus. This is one of those philosophical conundrums that really has no right or wrong answer. And it's funny to me, the concept of right and wrong in philosophy, because, it seems like there can be no right and there can be no wrong until you're in a university-level philosophy class and then you just barely pass with a C. You know what? To me, that is something that I think Plato would call an injustice. Or maybe he wouldn't. I didn't understand the Republic. I got a C. But no matter. The thing that's cool about the Ship of Theseus is that it opens up a lot of discussions about what exactly constitutes identity. And that is something that's been present with Vision since his first appearance in the MCU. In Age of Ultron, Vision starts as a lifeless synthezoid that was created by Ultron, but is eventually brought to life using the Mind Stone and the digital profile of Jarvis. Now, once Vision gains sentience, he claims that he's not Ultron, and he's not Jarvis. He just is.
I'm not Ultron. I'm not Jarvis. I am.
Now, as someone with a C-level understanding of philosophy, I think it's pretty clear that his entire existence is born out of this Ship of Theseus concept. He was created out of the remnants of something else, but now, he's a blank slate, open for interpretation. But the big difference here is that the Ship of Theseus is just a thing, but Vision is a thinking thing. When it comes to the Ship of Theseus, the entire discussion revolves around how people should think of and revere this inanimate object. Like, if I took a picture of the 2 ships of Theseus, which one do I tag as the real Ship of Theseus? But the discussion takes on a whole new meaning when it is applied to a living, breathing, thinking thing. And that is the recipe for a really juicy identity crisis. Which brings me to the Tin Man. Now, we don't really get much of the Tin Man's backstory in the 1939 Wizard of Oz film. All they really give us is that one line when he says, "It's empty. The tinsmith forgot to give me a heart. No heart. All hollow." And just leaves it at that. And I think that's where the Tin Man was always kind of losing me as a kid. Because, you know, scarecrows are a thing. Lions are a thing. Tin men? They're not a thing. But the missing piece of the puzzle here is that the Tin Man used to be a human man. At least according to L. Frank Baum's original novel. The Tin Man started out as just a normal human woodsman named Nick Chopper. Nick fell in love with a girl from Munchkinland, but the girl's caregiver didn't want the two of them getting married and then running off because then, you know, she would lose her servant. So she employed the Wicked Witch of the East to take care of Nick. So the Wicked Witch of the East puts a spell on Nick's axe so that anytime he takes a swing, it cuts off a different part of his body. Every time he cuts off a different appendage, he goes to the local tinsmith to have a prosthetic made out of tin. Now, this continues until every piece of the original Nick is replaced by tin, turning him into a Tin Man. Is he still the original Nick Chopper? He feels that he isn't. And he ends up walking away from the love of Nick's life because he feels that in losing his physical heart, he's lost the capacity to love. And, fun fact that's neither here nor there, in one of the Oz sequel novels, they actually reveal that all of the body parts that Nick lopped off were collected and used to rebuild a new man, which is actually the person that Nick's ex-fiancée ends up marrying. But there's a lot to unpack there that we're not going to get into today. Because right now, I just want to focus on the Tin Man. Like the Scarecrow, the Tin Man doesn't have a brain. But his priority is getting a heart. And I think he doesn't just want a heart. To him, that represents getting an identity. Because think, this is somebody who has been literally broken down and rebuilt into a new person with no connection to his previous self. And he doesn't know who he is. Which is exactly what we see with Vision in WandaVision. Which is really an amplified version of the identity crisis that a lot of people have in real life when they're going through major life changes and adjustments. But I think the thing that really bonds Vision and the Tin Man is how their stories resolve. Because in the end, they both get the same answer to the who am I question. Wanda tells Vision that he is her sadness, her hope, and her love. And the Wizard tells the Tin Man that a heart is not measured by how much you love, but how much you are loved by others. In the end, they're showing us that the best way to figure out who you are is to look at the people that you affect and the people that you love. And really, it does all come back to the Ship of Theseus. Whether you decide that you want to take a picture of Ship A or Ship B, the physical ships themselves, they're irrelevant. They're just pieces of wood. What matters is the legacy and the stories and the impact that the ship has had on the people that care enough to look at it in the first place. Which is a really long-winded way of saying, it's heart. Anyway, friends, this concludes yet another episode of Teacup for One. Now, let me know in the comment section down below, where do you weigh in on this Ship of Theseus conundrum? Which ship do you believe is the true Ship of Theseus? And if you want to hear me talk even more about Disney, The Wizard of Oz, Shakespeare, film, sometimes Funko Pops, sometimes cats, who knows? Well, you certainly won't, unless you subscribe to the channel. Now, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, it is the easiest thing in the world. You've got a chance coming up right now. All you have to do is click on my face. Thanks for joining me again today, everyone. My name is Matt, and I have 2 degrees, and that's the Teacup for One. Go away.